what you guys got to understand is that the muscles on your back, those are your erectors. Those are stabilizer muscles. So those are muscles that helps keep you erect. And when it comes to the human body, we have our most strongest point and we have our most vulnerable point. And our most strongest point is when we're erect. So our erectors, hence erect, it helps us keep us erect. Those are stabilizer muscles. However, that doesn't mean that they're weak muscles. That doesn't mean that they're less dominant or just weaker than your prime movers and antagonists and things like that. No, they're strong muscles as well, but they're more meant for stabilization. They're made to keep you aligned and keep your posture good. They're not really meant for straining. So talking about deadlift, rounding your back and deadlift to me is detrimental. And the reason why I say that is because you're putting your joints out of alignment. So like I told you guys before, you have the body has its most strongest position and it has its most vulnerable position. And when you lift and you're putting stress and tension on the body, you want to make sure your body's in its most strong position. It's not going to do the most harm if you put your thoracic or if you round your back a little bit on deadlifts, but you're still putting yourself at risk because now your joints are out of alignment. So you get more biomechanics when you have an erect spine versus a curved spine. And I know that our thoracic naturally curves, but that's not the position we get in when we want to generate force. All right, so we're not going to run full fledged into somebody with a rounded back. Like, think about a boxer. We're not going to round our wrist to punch somebody. No, we have to make sure that our wrist is erect, because when it's erect, that's our strongest. That's when our body's at its most strongest point versus when it's more vulnerable. When it comes to rounding your back, y'all know me, I'm a purposeful coach. What is the purpose of rounding your back? So we have to look at the scale. We have to look at the odds. Like, okay, the risk of injury versus lifting more weight, because there's no reward from rounding your back versus just trying to get the weight lifted up. And that, we call that pride lifting. We call that ego lifting. And we just don't do that. All right. If you cannot get a weight up with an erected spine, take your time and just build yourself up to it. Don't start finding loopholes or trying to find risk factors and see just to get weight up. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it. So putting yourself at risk of getting injured just to get some weight up, it's not worth it. And that's all you're seeing with someone who's rounding your back. There's no reward from rounding your back from doing a deadlift except getting more weight up. But that's pride. There's you're not benefiting your body. You're not gaining more traits. You're just putting your body more at risk. And although the thoracic is flexible, it wants to stay flexible. It's kind of like that's like someone who gets a job and they say, "Hey, I'm flexible in my hours," and then the job do everything in their power to make this person not flexible again. It's the same with your thoracic. The thoracic wants to stay flexible and mobile because that's one of the most flexible joints in our body, which we need to twist and turn. All right. So also, what you guys understand too is I just want just to kind of bring the anatomy in it. So if we're looking at our spine, right? I hope you guys can see this anatomy of the spine. Inside our spine, we got a nucleus and we got an annulus, and that goes all the way up your spine from the lumbar up to the cervical spine. All right. So when you start to bend at your spine, you got to remember these are soft tissues surrounding the nucleus and the annulus. So when you're bending your spine, you're putting your spine more at risk of cracking the annulus and cracking the nucleus and the nucleus leaking through the annulus, and that's how you get herniated disc. So my question to you is, why would you want to put yourself at risk? Like, what's the reward versus the risk? So the risk is injury, but what's the reward? What's the purpose? Getting the weight up? To me, that's pride, and we don't pride lift around here. So you guys have to start looking at the pros and the cons of doing certain movements. And a lot of people are going to try to say, well, I rounded my back, nothing's wrong with me. Or a lot of people, influencers, I like to call them, they're going to say, whoever don't round their back don't know nothing about biomechanics.